Hey everybody. Let's see, just waiting on a couple of people. Hey Martia. Hey Mila. Hey Gianmarco. Hey Marcus. All right, I'm just waiting on a couple of my co-presenters here. All right. Hello.
Hello, Mark.
We were not actually expecting there to be two, but we'll make this work. We'll run with it here. All right, we went way over time on the last one, so we can like really cut this one down a bit. But I guess we can kind of get started. I'm not sure if Duncan will actually be joining on this one. Since it's a smaller group, it looks like I'd love this one to be a lot more interactive. So let's like light up the chat. Questions going, and we can kind of go from there. How does that sound, everybody? Okay, cool. All right, I will share my screen here. You asked for it. Perfect. I love it. All right. Okay, so we're just going to chat through kind of how we do product. Hey, Mila. And yeah, we'll try and go kind of relatively quick so we can leave some time for a Q&A. So we work at Jane. Jane is an online platform for health and wellness practitioners that makes it kind of simple to book, chart, schedule, bill, and get paid. We support about 15,000 customers worldwide, primarily in Canada and the United States, so North America. Company itself is about 165 people. And if you've booked a massage therapy appointment or a physio appointment or a chiro appointment in Vancouver or in BC, chances are you've used Jane to do it. So you've probably seen a lot of the scheduling pieces, but not any of the back end unless you're a practitioner. And I'll hand it off to Kevin and Aurelia.
Hey everyone, my name's Kevin. I'm the product manager for the payments area. We're going to dive into those different areas in a little bit.
And hi, I'm Aurelia. I look after kind of the reporting and billing side of Jane. And I also like to introduce myself as someone who used to work at the customer support role at Jane, as well as I used to work at a clinic too. So that's my backstory.
Nice. And I'm Mark. I lead the product team here at Jane. All right. Kevin, over to you for how we're structured.
Perfect. So, Mark, I don't know if this was last session or this one. Jane, we're currently at 165 people. We roughly double our headcount every year. When I first started just over 3 years ago, you're at about 20 people. Our structure looked much like this. Really just one of our co-founders leading the product team, which was just a couple people. And Mark, let's see our current structure. Now we're organized a little bit like this. So we work ourselves into what we call portfolios, problem areas. We have a couple different names for them. We're underpinned by our fantastic platform and security teams. Obviously, Jane has very peak periods, usually around 11 o'clock on Tuesdays, where everyone coast to coast is using Jane at the same time. We need to make sure Jane is has almost as close to 100% uptime as possible, because if you can't access your schedule and you can't do your medical charting, the medical practitioners would have to revert back to paper with their messy writing. No one wants that. Obviously, we're dealing with patient data, patient health data. We need a robust security team as well. Moving up here, we have organized this in these layers, but know that Jane does have a fairly flat structure. None of these teams kind of really report to each other or anything. Everyone is encouraged to chat with every other team. I'm going to use my team as an example, payments team. Right there, we have the PO, also known as the portfolio owner, also known as the product manager. That's what I do. I want to say, just lead the team, work with our customers, work with our various stakeholders to see what features we need to build and what features we need to update or modify to better fit clinical workflows. We also have a team of developers that really get to focus in on each of these areas, as well as some QA and design team members, some of which are shared across the different teams, just because of how closely those features are intertwined.
Yeah, definitely. Anand, great question around, we do deal with a lot of patient health information, and we try to kind of really balance our need to launch new features really, really quickly with a really solid QA process. So we mix that with like automated and manual QAing, but then we also do extensive beta testing with our customers to make sure that we're able to launch these features quickly and effectively. I'd say we launch, we deploy code like about twice a day or more, and then we probably launch about a medium to large feature about every couple of weeks. So across all of the portfolio teams. Is the onboarding team a dedicated separate team? Oh, those developers, they are a separate team, Marcus, to answer your question.
Yeah.
Cool.
We have the onboarding team down there along the bottom, almost shared with the other teams, because all of the things like the scheduling, billing and reporting, payments, the overall patient experience, those are all part of the onboarding. We really want every clinic or practitioner that joins Jane to really excel, to use all the features to their fullest extent. We did find a need that we need some people just really obsessing over that area, making sure that onboarding is just as easy as possible.
And then one last point, I think, on this slide before we move on is one unique thing to Jane that I think most companies haven't really experienced is Jane does not have any salespeople at Jane. The entire team, all of our customers are self-serve, and we have a very extensive support team as a result. Okay, just being mindful of time, we'll chat a little bit about some of like the skills and capabilities of a PM at Jane. So we operate in a full stack PM model where the PM really touches every single point of the product journey, from ideation stage and writing product briefs and roadmap development through to execution stage, like working with design, working with developers. They work actually, like I'd say, unblocking developers, even getting their hands wet in terms of QA testing. They go through and work with the marketing team and the content team, writing blog posts for releases, running webinars, training support. And then they take all of that feedback that they get from all of our customers and they build that into future decisions and understand kind of how customers are using the current product, where their friction points, where their confusion points, and build it from there. So it's definitely a full-time job for the PMs, but it helps them understand the kind of context across the board and really take full ownership of the product area that they manage. So let's see, Kevin and Aurelia, any thoughts in terms of like advantages or disadvantages you think to the full stack model?
The advantage is you get I'm going to say, a holistic sense of everything that's going on. You are getting a lot of different signals from a lot of different places, which you can piece together and devise the best plan forward. On the opposite end, you're getting a lot of different signals from a lot of different places, and sometimes it's a little challenging to parse that and put it all together, as well as prioritize what you should do next.
Totally agreed with Kevin. And, I think it's a pretty rare opportunity for a PM to be able to see through the feature all the way from the beginning to the end to the feedback stage. So it's really neat and just quite fulfilling. And yeah, it keeps us busy for sure. as Kevin mentioned.
Anthony asks, do you get overwhelmed with this model? And do you use any tools to help you?
I do think you have to be a little bit more conscientious of how you allocate your time every day and make sure you don't get it caught up on something, and divide that out a little bit better. But I don't know, Kevin, do you use any tools or just the old brain?
I can't rely on the old brain anymore, so I do have to use a robust task manager, as well as actually write things down. I also have to fiercely protect my calendar time. Not a lot, but we do have a lot of colleagues on the East Coast as well. So no matter what time I wake up, I'm waking up to a bunch of different Slack messages because they've already been up for a couple hours. So I want to say, especially in stage one, the idea stage, you do really need to protect that time and carve out an hour or two. I would say a couple times a week, just to get, I'm going to say, the higher level thinking out there. Writing those product briefs, thinking about the future, and prioritizing what you're doing.
Nice. All right, I'm going to jump through to collaboration and let Kevin touch on this one, since Kevin is the PM at Jane that I think works with the most teams. I don't know, we all work with a lot of teams, but I think Kevin works with the most on the payment side. So
yeah, so this really falls into that the full stack 360-degree product manager. I see it's called in the chat. I get to work with, I want to say, almost every team at Jane, as well as every team that we work with outside of Jane. We work with a couple different payments companies to power credit card payments within Jane. I get to work with the marketing, the content teams. People really want to understand how to take payments, because that almost runs their life. If they're not taking payments, they can't pay their bills, they can't pay their staff. Obviously, I work closely with our development team to make sure we're building or updating the great features Jane has. I also get to work closely with our finance team, which I know isn't everyone's cup of tea, but I do love spreadsheets and love working with our finance team. My favorite teams, though, is actually to work with our support team. That's where I'm getting a lot of the signals from for, how best to, work our roadmap, what I should be building next. Like we've mentioned, we don't have a sales team. We don't have any sort of, I want to say, signals from potential customers. It's all from our, actual customers, what they want, what they need, how they're working. We're lucky that we can also use our own product as well. I can say, go for a massage, and it's actually almost like work. I can ask questions of the practitioner. I can ask how they're using Jane, and I can also use it as myself as a patient.
Nice. All right. Well, let's take it over. I think one unique thing about Jane is that because we're so self-service, we have to get really, really, really close to our customers. I think somebody asked us about this, is like, how do we actually gather this feedback? And so Aurelia has some kind of good points here in terms of like how we actually get really, really close to our customers to make sure we're building the right.
Absolutely. And I think it actually just flows nicely from what Kevin was saying. And yeah, it's actually quite easy for us as PMs, POs to access customer feedback. So we all have access to the phone logs, the email logs. We do have like a feedback board, and of course, social media. And there's not a lot of hurdles for us to jump through. So we can actually just call a customer. And I think we're really fortunate that our clinics are very enthusiastic about Jane, and they're very willing to sit down with us and provide us feedback, whether it's hard to hear or not. And that just makes our product better. So as someone who used to work on the customer support team, definitely two really important things that came out of that was you had a sense of how frequently a piece of feedback came in, as well as kind of how severe the feedback was. So now being a PM, I find those two pieces of information really valuable. So we definitely recognize how much implicit just kind of information about our product the support team has collected over time from just answering the phones and emails. So we work really closely with them. And then I guess the last point on this slide is just how we try to make customer feedback everyone's responsibility. So it's not just the PM's responsibility, it's also support and the developers and QA. And I think I even remember a time where someone from the finance team posted a piece of feedback in our Slack channel after going for a massage or something like that. So everyone really feels that ownership of making, we're all working towards the same goal. So just making the product better for everyone.
Nice, love it. So how do we decide what to build? We start with our mission, which is to help the helpers. And then we kind of go down from there into our strategy. And the way we break up our strategy is through demographics and our discipline. So in a particular year, we'll have a discipline we really feel like we've got to fix, that we're maybe not providing the best experience for our customers. So that got to fix in 2020, for example, was our US chiropractors. They were starting to sign up for Jane and not having the best experience. And we really need these customers to become advocates of Jane and to become the most successful versions of themselves using Jane that they can be. And then as a result, every year we also have maybe the next discipline and initiative in mind, and that's the one that we're starting to think about. So for 2020, for example, that was our Canadian mental health practitioners who were starting to sign up for Jane, but then that was swapped to Gotta Fix in 2021. So now we're heavily focused on our Canadian mental health practitioners, and we have physical therapists and physios as our kind of as our starting to think about for 2021. And then underpinning that whole thing, we always have a strategic theme around simplicity, because we just need our customers to be able to use Jane in as easy to use way as possible so they can be successful. And this is just to make sure that all of our customers can continue to be successful on Jane. From there, we break it down into problems per portfolio, 6-week cycles in terms of key results and OKRs, and projects down from there. So this is kind of like the strategy in terms of how we think about what we're going to be building. I'm just being aware of time here. I'm going to just move on to the next slide, if that's okay, Aurelia.
Oh, that's totally fine.
All right, cool. Let's see. Let's chat through a past failure quickly, and I'll pass this one over.
Oh, fantastic. We don't always get it right, which is unfortunate. But the best thing to do there is to learn something about it. Like I mentioned, I'm the portfolio owner of the payments area. One project we've been working on for a long time is integrating a physical credit card terminal, one you'd see at any sort of retail store, with a cloud-based software like Jane. We at first maybe thought, can we build our own? The answer was quickly, no, that's way too complicated, would require too much money. So we started working with a couple different third parties. This was a new area for both us as a SaaS product, as well as this company that we started working with. It was their first piece of physical hardware. So this wasn't our core competency. It wasn't their core competency. And unfortunately, we ended up putting a lot of work into it, but not actually releasing the product. The biggest part why we didn't do that was we really didn't collaborate enough on what our shared customer experience was going to be. It would have been very disjointed and just not the easy to use Jane that we want and need. Like I like to say, every second that I can put back onto a practitioner's schedule is another second that they can be working with patients, not having to worry about their business. That's what they want to do. A massage therapist doesn't want to worry about how they're going to get paid. They want to help their patients. They want to make sure their patients are pain-free. That's what I want to do. I want to make sure that their business is pain-free as well. And that's my quick and short story.
I'm curious if anyone is in the group that's listening. I'm curious how you think about deciding what to build in-house and what to outsource to partners. Feel free to drop that answer in the chat. All right, Aurelia, some challenges ahead.
Ooh, good question. So we have 3 different challenges listed on the slide, but I think they're all kind of different facets of the same challenge, which is how do we grow Jane and make sure that we still kind of keep, the customer voice in mind and don't lose that signal as we continue to grow. We're definitely trying to support some more kind of a broader set of customers and disciplines and geographies in the next year. So inevitably, there's just going to be more noise and signal to sift through. So this goes for both externally with our customers, but also internally. And we want to make sure our team is happy and healthy as we're expanding as well. Something that I really admire about the way things are done here at Jane is that we have decided to not make the trade-off that, growing faster is not worth the expense of, maybe disappointing our customers or putting out kind of subpar products. So don't get me wrong, we still want to move quickly and efficiently, but we just want to also be respectful of the people we're looking to help. So I guess in the interest of time, I'll blast through the other 2, but data is something that is always really helpful. And we've kind of dipped our toes into that at Jane, but we want to kind of incorporate more behavioral data as we kind of move through and grow. And a lot of decisions have been made using a bit of instinct at Jane. So we just kind of want the data to complement that so we can make sure we understand how our customers are using Jane, as well as sort of the unknowns, right? So it's hard for us to know why a customer may not be using a certain feature, or maybe why they didn't choose to sign up for an account. So we want to look into that a little bit more. And then we just want to make sure that everything's running smoothly. So we want to focus on the internal tooling, whether it is data or even just our processes behind the scenes, and make sure that these processes are in place so that our team can do their job without, preventing them from, they don't have to jump over any hurdles to do it. So that's what we're looking to overcome this year.
Nice. All right. And lastly, what we're excited about in 2021? Who wants to take it away first?
Yeah. 2021. In 2020, like I said, I don't actually know if I said it with this group. We did actually launch a physical credit card terminal, as well as put down some great infrastructure for the future. So I'm excited to start bringing some really cool features around payments and helping clinics run their business more efficiently in 2021.
And I think for me, kind of us all experiencing collectively the pandemic in the last year, we sort of recognize how underappreciated a lot of our healthcare workers are. So I'm just excited to continue to help the people who are helping others, and may sometimes be forgotten a little bit because they're busy doing their job and trying to serve the rest of their community. So I think, just as we continue to grow, that's a great opportunity for Jane to kind of show what we can do for society.
Nice, I love that. And I guess lastly, I'm excited to start getting into some of the patient-facing features that I know all of y'all have been requesting quite a bit from us. We've been focused primarily on the practitioner side, but excited to get into some of the patient side as well. All right. Would love to, I think we may have answered a lot of the questions. but we can definitely answer any more in the last couple of minutes here that we have from anybody. I see Gianmarco says, pop quiz, most useful PM tool you use. I don't know. That's a tough one. I think for us, or at least for me, I think Slack is actually like a really incredible PM tool. We have a live feed of all of our support conversations, as well as all of our feature requests going into Slack. So if I ever search for a particular feature like scheduling problem, I can pull up all of our feature requests as well as all of our support conversations that have that phrase in it at any time. So it ends up being pretty valuable. Aurelia, Kevin, any other tools you're loving?
I feel like I have a tongue-in-cheek answer. I probably have at least 5 scraps of paper just sprawled across my table to keep track of everything I need to do. So I'd argue that's my most useful PM tool.
Nice.
I'm going to say a newer one that we've added to the arsenal. We recently stopped struggling with Jira and moved to a tool called Linear to help track our development process and help plan out our roadmap.
Linear is great if you haven't taken a look at it. It's fantastic, especially if you're moving away from Jira. I think that's a really great one. Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Gianmarco. Any other questions from the group in terms of kind of how we operate? Well, I think we're all kind of burned from when we try and create a ticket in Jira, and then all of a sudden it gives us the message that says like this ticket has been created but is not displayed on your board because of a filter that was created by somebody else that you don't know what's in it. So that does not seem to happen with Linear. So. All right. Any other questions from anyone listening in? I think y'all can like unmute as well and just ask us questions if you want, if you're so bold, or chat is fine too. Let's see. I think Nick asked earlier about our design systems team. I think that's really interesting in that we do have a dedicated design systems team at Jane. This team is made up of designers and developers. They do not currently have a PO or PM, as we call them, but they take inputs from all the other teams at Jane, and basically like that feeds into the components that they build and the decisions around design that they make, and then they basically build out all of the components with the help from all of the other teams for the things that the roadmap desires or needs from them over the next little while. So they basically create that shared library of components and design systems and behavioral patterns that our customers end up using, so we can make them consistent across the product. We are by no means great at this yet, as there's definitely some inconsistencies in Jane, but I think it's definitely something we're working on.
It's really helped my team. You know, we don't have to stress over how big a button should be, where it should be. I'm going to say the positive button on the right, the delete on the left. All those decisions are already made, and we can just pull down those components and put them in place.
All right, let's taking a look here. All right, we have, let's see, I have a question from the previous session, but let's see if we can answer it here. Jane got pretty quickly into telehealth, which we did back in March of last year. We released a telehealth feature a couple of weeks after the lockdowns really started. We found a big need that obviously we work with practitioners who are primarily focused around physically interacting with their patients, and we needed kind of something that would help them stay in business as the pandemic hit. Luckily, I think this was one of those times where we had an idea of how Jane would work, or how our customers would work in that we believed at some point there would be a hybrid model that they would operate under, where some appointments would be virtual, some appointments would be in person. And so we had kind of a prototype from way back when with that in mind. And this is, and then so we managed to kind of release that in a couple of weeks. And since then, we've completed hundreds of thousands of telehealth calls on the platform. But I think the key there is that it's important to factor in to your roadmap ideas that you believe in that you're not necessarily hearing from customers as well. I think that's super important, because those are going to be the things that if you believe in strongly in kind of a direction that it's going to go. This just happened to be forced a little bit faster than we expected with the pandemic, but it's super important, I think, to keep those ideas in the roadmap that maybe your customers aren't necessarily asking for. So they're not necessarily something that they know is a problem, but you just have conviction in terms of where the industry is going to go, and make sure you keep those on your roadmap. Let's see.
We also did that while adjusting to a new work style ourselves, as we also went fully remote as of March 16th, I believe it was. So that goes back to what we talked about, just the tight collaboration that we all have, and that we have and is encouraged at Jane, both internally and with our customers.
Absolutely. Anthony asks, how do you justify those ideas to the executive team? Aurelia, do you want to take a stab at this one?
Ooh, it is a good question. I think we're just really lucky at Jane that the leadership team is really on board with the idea of listening to the customer, and we're really just customer focused. I know one of our co-founders joked that we're actually a support team with a product. So that kind of speaks to how enthusiastic they are about maybe trying out something that may not be backed by hard data, or might be based more on your vision, I guess, on what you want to work on. But I think it's just about pulling together as much information as you can and making a case for it. And we're lucky we have some open ears for that to fall on. So
I think one interesting thing to know about the co-founders of Jane as well is, like, one of them is a technologist and a coder. The other one still owns a clinic to this day. So very much like we're serving the customer by serving them. So like I think they have a really deep customer understanding. And I think that really helps when we're talking about a particular problem that we see coming or that we want to solve. Because they both kind of like feel that pain. And I think just telling a story is really, really important to get everyone involved and on board. Nick says we should get a referral bonus for Linear. It is a lot nicer. I would highly recommend it if you're interested in some optimization on the project level, for sure. It also, I'd say, like, training onboarding time for Linear versus Jira, dramatically better. I think like almost everyone, I think I answered one question about the onboard to Linear. It's like everyone else just kind of onboarded themselves. So it's quite a bit nicer. All right. I'm not sure when the main stage is starting, but I think we'll maybe jump over there in case we're missing anything right now. So I think we'll end it there for the evening. But I think if we're not all available, we'll get everyone available in the Product BC Slack. And you can message us all there, or kind of connect with us on LinkedIn. But if you have any additional questions or follow-up, or you're interested in Jane, feel free to follow up with us there. All right. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.